Hi there. As we begin this new term, I just wanted to give you an update on a few things that are going on in church life at the moment. And the first is just to remind us of our church vision. And God is calling us as a church to turn our church community inside out. And that's going to take a number of different forms. But let me just highlight one or two things that it will mean for us this term. Turning our church community inside out means that we want to be out there as much as we're in here. And particularly around the time of Halloween. Halloween is a festival, if you like, which has grown an awful lot in our culture over the last few years. And I want us to make sure that we make the most of Halloween for engaging with our culture. Last year, a couple of people, rather than going trick-or-treating, they baked cakes and they went around offering those as gifts to local people at Halloween time. I'd love more of us to do that sort of thing. That's really countercultural. I'd love us, as well as doing a light party in here for 100 or so local children, we're going to open up this building and just have it open as an atmospheric place for anyone passing by on that evening who wants to come in and just find a little bit of space. There'll be a prayer team in here as well for a half night of prayer. Other churches have done that sort of thing in city centres on Friday evenings and Saturday evenings and found some remarkable conversations stemming from that sort of event. We'll also work in conjunction, hopefully, with the street pastors to put some extra patrols out on Halloween night, because I know a lot of people are afraid on Halloween evening, and putting some extra street pastor patrols out might help to calm some of the situations. And also, around Halloween, we're going to run something called a death cafe. We're going to use coffee number 1, coffee #1 on the high street, and that's going to be a time when people from the community, not necessarily from the church, can come in and talk about one of our society's sort of taboo subjects, death. But it's a really important one to talk about. And so over coffee and cake and so on, it will just be an informal, it's not a heavy Christian evening, but it's a time when people can engage with their spiritual side as they talk about death and their own fears or hopes and so on associated with death. And that's some of the ways that we're going to be using Halloween to turn our church community inside out and to engage with what our culture is doing. Later on in Advent, obviously that's another huge time, particularly down on the high street. And so we're hoping to hire a stall in the Shirley precinct, Shirley Market, which comes once a week. And we'll run that as a church, maybe with help from some of the other churches locally. And that'll be a time just for us to be able to present gently, but faithfully, something of the Christian message. And bring some of the light and hope and truth of Christmas into that Christmas season on the high street. As something else, let me tell you one of the most encouraging things that's happened since I've been here as vicar over the last 3 years. And that's to say that on a Saturday morning, a little spontaneous prayer meeting has started here in church, 7:45 in the morning for an hour or so. And that's open to anyone. And I'm so encouraged by that because prayer has got to undergird everything that we do. If we're being very busy but not praying, then what we're doing is useless. So prayer's got to be the foundation to everything we do. And so to have a group of people who are spontaneously coming together on a Saturday morning to pray for us as a church and to pray for our progress with our vision and with our worship and so on, that's really encouraging to me. So I would encourage anyone who wants to come and join them, even if you can just come for 20 minutes or half an hour, come on that Saturday morning. And then I know many of you use the rapid response prayer emails. Either you receive them or you've put prayer requests to them. And I've been really pleased how that's taken off over the last couple of years. But one thing I've noticed is that the vast majority of those prayer requests are to do with health. And I know health is a big thing for lots of people. But it'd be great to make sure that we're not just praying about health-related issues, but we're praying about all sorts of other issues which are discipleship issues. So maybe if you've got a job interview coming up, or you've got a big decision coming up, or you're trying to decide whether to move house, all these sorts of things, they're big decisions, and it'd be great to get other people praying for those decisions. So feel free to put in those as prayer requests, either to your cell groups and missional communities, or to that rapid response prayer team. The final bit of update I want to do for you today is to do with chairs. And many of you know that over the summer we've had a variety of new chairs in, sample chairs, which people have been sitting on and testing out and writing their comments on. Thank you for all those comments. Let me just say, remind us why we're looking to change the chairs in here. Because although these chairs are very comfortable, some of them are getting a little bit worn, But any of you who've tried moving these chairs or setting out these chairs for a different event will know that they're very heavy and they're not stackable. And so every time we want to set out for a youth event like they are set out at the moment, or we want to set out for a women's evening, or for the children's light party, or for the Christmas carol services for the schools, or for any other event in here where we want to be just a little bit more flexible with how we use the chairs, actually it's really back-breaking work setting them out. And there's very limited flexibility in how we can arrange this room. So we want to get some chairs which are much more flexible in how we use them. We still want them to be comfortable, we still want them to look good, but we want them to be stackable, and we want them to be much, much lighter to make it much easier to set out and rearrange the chairs. So how are we going about choosing the new chairs? Well, lots of you have contributed your comments, thank you for those. We've got a small group of people, I'm calling them the sitting committee rather than the standing committee, and they've been looking at all those comments, and they've been putting their expertise on. One of them's a physio, so they know all about posture and so on. One of them's an older person, so they know all about some of the difficulties which older people have with certain types of chairs. And together they've pooled their knowledge. They're coming up with a recommendation for the PCC, and once that's been through PCC, then we'll communicate back to the church which chair we've chosen and about how much that's going to cost, and we'll begin asking for contributions. But I hope that getting new chairs will actually give us much more flexibility in how we can use this space.